I found 34 to make a video doing that champion. Can't figure out how to do this nice and cleanly, so it's just gonna be my random inner monologue ramblings. So come along for the ride and enjoy. We're gonna hear out a damage dealer. Just gotta figure out who we're gonna do attack based damage. Let's see. Slow could easily go. Mm, maybe, maybe, maybe big one. I will. Registered. It's kind gonna be both. I think we're gonna do Callan. Because I use him a bunch. How's he looking? So we using too much action ones. What do you think? What do you think we should do? What do you have going on here? All right, where's that pick one? Maybe a borrow. So kit. Mm, I should have something that had a extra chance of increase crit rate. That's what she has. Oh, there we go. She's going to put an increased crit rate on herself, which is great. Next, we only have to go for 70% crit. So we're going to do. Maybe it's not too bad. Let's do some angle build. It's kind of. Oh, yeah. Yeah, her build's jackal. Okay, we're going to build Lala. Good collection. All right. So we're going to start by just getting into the filter, getting around, always hearing, getting in. I'll start check her chest. Actually, attack chest plate. So for her, this is a damage dealer. Damage dealers always want 100% crit rate unless it says otherwise. Titus, it's on his defense. And Titus feel always critical if you have a shield on. So you don't need to build him with any crit rate, just defense and crit damage. Luella applies 30% crit rate buff. You don't have to build her to 70% crit rate. But for most others, think would be a good line to have built. And, um, maybe go Huntsman. This isn't. We're gonna do clear updates. We all have clear updates. So we'll do this. Filter, getting now I know that she's going to want an attack percent chest. So that's going to be the main concern. So an attack percent chest and a crit damage glove. Attack percent chest. You want to look at speed and crit rate. Priority stats. This is the important part. Crit rate. I want the highest crit rate that I can get on it. And for that, I kind of want this movie. Probably gonna end up using her in faction wars. That will come, but like I need another good damage here. So I just want to see my rise clearly and see all this. So let's see what that is. Speed rate, perfect. Exactly what I wanted. Double crit rate. Should get it. Actually, we'll just gonna roll this up. Wouldn't usually roll up the resilience piece when they invest too much in them, but as you can see, it is well over tech fixed. Alright, that's good. Now we have crit damage. Hmm. Take that off. Alright, now we want to look for something really heavy damage set. That have a crit damage. Affinity builders. Take. We're just gonna take that one. It's 5-star, but gives us all the stuff we want. Alright, now we're gonna go here. Now we've got to start getting selective. We need so now also I'm gonna use speed boots. I really want to try that speed boots with crit rate and a damage set. Savage is a damage set. So we're gonna do that one because that's got crit rate on it. It's my best crit rate in Savage. No, a lot of these don't have any crit rate on them. There's Savage. That's it. Look out of that. No crit rate. See, it's all the speed beats and crit rate. No merciless, but you want to use merciless on them? I don't want to, feels like waste. All right, now we've got to try to pick up Savage in those sets. Not back on. And I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna pick up all the highest ones. Okay, so now I know with what I have here, I have 13 more crit rate than I need. Okay, I can then, I can now know that I can build this double Savage right now. It's gonna ignore 25% defense. Means she's gonna hit harder. The damage dealer, that's what we want. So now I can start looking at instead of crit rate being high, we can shift the speed being high and crit damage being medium. So we keep it to where I have speed and crit rate. Yeah. Okay. So we do that. If we look at these a little attack, they gain more crit damage. That gain of 12% is more than the loss of 11, a flat 11. Okay. Also doing 7 speed, really want that too. Turn that on, and I've got 6% that I can take off. So let me do here. We've got too much crit rate with that, too much, nothing out of that, nothing. Alright, so that's pretty much that. Mm, no, I don't want to lose the speed with that. So yeah, that's how I do the main set. Now, she also applies X, which is going to need accuracy. Primary stat, accuracy, speed. Wow, that beautiful. Wow, lost a bunch of speed with that there. What do we have? We have phone here already. I don't even know what she's learned. Yes, she can attack with a double speed. It sucks and it's tough on that speed there. If I let's see. Yeah, it's going back to a full priorities. That speed high. Hmm. I don't really want to have to steal bash or stuff. This is more useful. I've also got like my fastest banner outside. Well, not really this it's not that. Equal, I need fast. And I have a spell set on them, so I have another revenge banner. Chance of counter attack is another chance to stun. Uh, um, I could forego her accuracy. Just see, that's a really good thing. It's gonna leave on the account. Speed. So we have priority stat put on speed. Just gonna hide set filters. See what my fastest ones are. All right. Apart from taking it off of three champions, I don't want. She's got the best one. It's a lot of attack to do. So, mhm. No, that's okay. Let's just skip that. Let's go to minor stats, group stats. All right. Even though with the now for the amulet, I want the crit damage. The only time you will attack on an amulet is if you're becoming a bomb champion. Bomb champions only care about attack. No other stats matter other than accuracy and attack and speed. I think you can't use this crit damage on dude. Now see the long dude. You don't really use him. He's on the list. I don't know if you go there. You know, here. Damage, attack, accuracy. And then I go down. We're just gonna pick up best stuff pretty much. Alright. So I'll put that and go here. Stat, attack, attack, attack. Nice. We've got an attack room with attack percent subside. So a little accuracy too. A little HP. Yeah. Take a wild guess and say this is the best attack meme right now. Priority stat. Uh, yeah. Alright, so there you go. Best attack then. So, nice. I don't even want that on right now. Hmm. Giving them 5%. That's good one, 5%. Includes the space because that's up sitting $1 million. Alright, so we can put this on. Yeah, no, no. You should build a good book. Yeah, so where's clear up there? Let me save this. Let's see, global preset. Let's see, save global preset. Alright, no, no. So, say you're an idiot and you mess that up. And let's try on the quit. There on. Oh, what's up? That's a good. Uh, Awesome. Oh, did I save or not save? I don't know what this is. Yes. We have another protection line. There we go. Alright. File stats. Alright. Try out. Let's see. Joe. Oh, yeah. Dragon. Is she spirit? Is she's spirit. I don't want to fight magic boss, but I don't have to. But I'm in that. So, who's on the team? So that goes. Do a couple of things. You we can run. How much all I need really? Let's run. Attack lead. These includes attack, includes crit damage, decrease defense, defense. Any other here? What else can I put on? Yes. Station. Side of it. Right. See what she does. See. Attack. Spear burst. This one. Really 2 times before attacking, increase attack. For each critical hit on my first hit, increase the damage dealt and second hit for 10% build non cave and shield. Right. Oh, that's the plan. You know what I mean? Right. There's places, Fingers out, yes, Fingers out, then types option order. See what this does. Yeah, easy clap. See if I run through the rest of this. There's another.
No, you need the inside.
No. I don't think people think that they. Maybe some crazy people think that they actually did it. I think it's impossible that they
Whoa.
did it. I think it's possible they knew about it though.
They might have known about it. Yeah, they were obviously people working in those floors areas shut off, stuff being moved around. There was a whole fireproofing upgrades that took place on the exact floors that like right in the exact impact zones where the planes hit. They upgraded like all the fireproofing. Why do you upgrade
getting just about
fireproofing?
as
Wasn't that
hard
place
as
loaded with
going.
asbestos? They didn't have like so much asbestos that it was going to cost billions of dollars to remove it all, and it would have been easier just to knock them down in an accident. Really, and really financially convenient for a few people to do that if that were to happen, right?
Yeah. All right, back to the anti-gravity stuff.
I know I'm all over the
with
place
Epstein.
here.
Epstein anti-gravity research physicist that he was talking to and inviting to his
Yeah,
island.
but the DEW stuff. I wanted to mention one other thing that people think that these weapons were used to start fires in Maui and other things, and it's nonsense. And their evidence is literally like, oh, well, look at these houses with blue roofs.
Blue roofs.
And the blue roofs didn't burn, so they're immune to the lasers. And I'm like, dude, here's a laser taking off blue paint because they have
Alright. 4-star. We don't keep any of that shit. Trying to not keep 5-star. Yeah. Clear tapes. Yeah. Not fallen damage. He's a much better champion. But did pretty good. So anything here. There's building area damage here. Now. Oh, it's gone. Still not. Let's build out another champion. Let's build out a team. Right? So let's go clear that guy. Let's do this guy. Nah, nah, nah. So I'm just gonna kind of listen to this, and we're gonna go through and just do some champions out.
laser paint strippers. You know what I mean? And there's videos you can find of laser paint strippers that can remove blue paint just fine. That's a directed energy weapon, bro. That is, and it doesn't penetrate the steel. It just removes the paint. And again, these are people that don't understand construction or building materials,
Right.
So
because
also
all those
use
blue
that
roofs
laser.
were metal roofs.
You
Okay,
can't hit hard.
metal roofs not combustible like asphalt roofs are. So that's why those houses didn't burn down.
That.
So
Interesting.
it's just
I don't know,
it's
it's like
nonsense though,
reading that
like
hard,
the
reading
the
that
amount of
box.
disinformation and
There's a reason
miseducation.
box.
But and
Yeah.
again, the SAIC did build a lot of directed energy weapons. They've been involved with this whole Excalibur project, right, to build the Star Wars Defense Initiative, these space lasers that could shoot nukes out of the incoming ICBMs out of the sky, right? But in order to get the power on board these satellites, there's no power system to be able to generate that much power on a satellite.
Right.
So what they had to do is they have a nuclear device inside the satellite that literally, it's like a bomb inside the satellite, and it goes off inside this laser cavity, and it was able to direct the energy from the nuclear explosion to create a laser pulse, because that's the only way that you can create that much energy up in space with a power plant that can produce that much power.
Yeah.
There's real serious issues with the energy,
And they never figured it out, right?
well, apparently, some people figure it, like Ashton Forbes, he nailed free energy, right? So these free energy people say that they got free energy, and
So
that's
these
the way
people
around it,
speculate.
right?
These people speculate the Star Wars satellites are using free energy to make the lasers.
right, that's what
Okay.
they have to say, because that's what they have to say, because they have no other explanation for where the power comes from or how that power is created.
Right.
So there's issues with all that. But back to the anti-gravity stuff. You got Kip Thorne, right? Kip Thorne was visiting the island.
Right. Right.
Kip Thorne studied under Bryson Cecil Dewitt, who again ran that Chapel Hill secret conference in '57. So yeah, there are these very top level gravity scientists and gravity physicists having associations with Jeffrey Epstein. Whether those people were engaged in activities that they could later be blackmailed or controlled for is not proven. There's no evidence for that yet. Lawrence Krauss denies it vehemently when he's asked about it. But again, these people are in a position to control science and mainstream science and mainstream physics and prevent disruptive ideas from coming out into the mainstream and being taken widely seriously. Which,
didn't also Townsend Brown, didn't he basically like make up some sort of lie about his physics at one point to like hide it from people? I remember
apparently, yeah, because he was forced to basically say it didn't work when it did,
right?
And tell the public that it didn't. Yeah, so there's some of that. There's
and he worked with Donald Trump's uncle, I think.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard that he's connected to the whole Tesla files stuff too, which is interesting. I wonder what Elon's role and SpaceX's role is in all this, because
he doesn't know anything. Apparently,
yeah, he doesn't when he's asked about it. But and then I've also have a good friend of mine that sat right next to the third in charge at SpaceX on a flight, and he asked him about all this stuff, and that guy didn't have a clue either.
Well, a funny thing about
he was actually taking notes. My brother, he was like, "What is all this? I haven't heard of any of this secret space program
I wonder
stuff.
how much clearance. I wonder how high level clearance Elon has into all of this UFO stuff.
I'm curious, man, because I just don't know.
Isn't his guy that works for him, the dragon guy, Tim? Isn't he like the one who claims to have all this knowledge of all these secret programs and all these UFO technologies that he's patented, and he seems to be like the most mysterious, all-knowing person on this stuff.
Who is that?
Tim Taylor. You know who I'm talking about?
Tim Taylor.
You know who that is?
Yeah, I know who that is. The guy from...
he works for Elon, right? He works on all the rocket launches, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. I know that he's, the Rocket City Redneck show and then also the Skinwalker Ranch, right?
No, he's not any of that.
Not Tim Taylor. Oh, I'm thinking
this is the guy that's in Diana Pasulka's book.
Oh yes, no, I'm confusing him with the other guy there.
Oh, okay.
He's also named Taylor, Dr. Taylor.
Oh,
I think.
yeah.
I forget his name. If it's Tim.
No, I'm talking about the guy who's like the dragon. He calls himself the dragon at all the.
Duck is a debuffer and control check. Your defense and provoke. Decrease that provoke. You start defense provoke. Yeah. Fast, obviously.
All the launches at Cape Canaveral, and he's the one who like sits in a room and is supposed to like watch all of the NSA satellites, drones, and like make sure this rocket gets into the atmosphere safely. You don't know about him?
I've heard of him. I just got him confused with the other the other Taylor guy there.
Chris Bledsoe talked about him a lot. He said visited Chris Bledsoe and told him all kinds of crazy stuff.
I've never talked to him. I'd be interested to meet him.
Nobody has, except for
he's never coming. Like again, we have the APEC group. So we invite a lot of people in there publicly.
Oh, you're thinking of Travis Taylor.
Travis Taylor.
Yeah, different guy.
Yeah. Yep. That's who I confuse him with. But you could see why.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Right. But no, it's strange that Elon would know nothing about this stuff, nothing about UFOs, nothing about any kind of like anti-gravity secret physics. I mean,
and apparently not interested in it either, because like
if he's not interested in it, he must not be interested in it, because if he is, he's doing a great job of lying about it.
Again, he's not the only Tim Taylor and they're not the only ones working on this kind of stuff too. There's lots of other scientists that have done a lot of other work. Like Amy Eskridge's father there, Richard Eskridge, and then also that's the scientist that we knew that killed herself. You know about that? The NASA scientist girl that killed herself?
No.
Amy Eskridge?
I don't know about her.
You never heard about her, man?
No.
Well, she had to try to like infiltrate our group. I felt that she was like, well, first we thought she was a high level source because her father's Richard Eskridge. He's got all these plasma gravity, plasma propulsion patents and stuff for NASA. Does a lot of classified work and stuff for NASA. And she was telling us, "Oh, I know how anti-gravity works. I know how all this stuff works, and I can't wait to tell you guys all the secret, and I'm going to help reveal it." She was like telling us she was going to be the one to bring disclosure, and I thought that she was I thought she was like working for the intel agencies. I'm like, this girl's infiltrated our group. She basically she got into our group, and then she started dating my main lab guy, Mark. She started dating him, and I was just like, oh my god, they just got into my group and infiltrated me. Like, holy crap! And I thought she was a spy the whole time, and I just couldn't stand her. But now she killed herself and in a couple of years ago, and there's a lot of people online that think there's a bigger conspiracy involved in it, and then also think that
who did she work for?
But she worked for her father, and I don't know. She worked for a couple different companies and stuff, and she worked for this Institute for Exotic Sciences with another friend of hers, and they were supposedly going to be developing these.
She co-founded the Institute for Exotic Science.
Yeah, it's this group in Huntsville, and.
She publicly spoke about developing a sixth force and described her work as anti-gravity, though she acknowledged it was a non-traditional interpretation. In September 2020, she was allegedly blocked by NASA Marshall Space Flight Center from presenting her research.
And we felt that like I don't know, something was up with that because the Estes Park conference was run by a guy named... I'm sorry, why can't I think of his name right now? But
she was found dead by a gunshot wound, concluded a suicide.
Yeah.
Lived with chronic pain.
Yeah,
according to Reddit.
A lot of interesting stuff going on with her case, but
we should try using Grok, bro. I think Grok's better than... I think everyone think Grok is better, it seems to be, than GPT. I don't know.
I think Grok's better than GPT. Yeah. It finds a lot.
But you got to get you got to be logged in though, Steve. You got to have the super Grok.
So we've been digging into this anti-gravity stuff as long, if not longer, than Jeffrey Epstein was. And I didn't, hire a lot of these people to come to my private island because I don't have one. But we did set up our own conference after the Estes Park conference. It's run by Jim Woodward, and who's the Woodward effect, also called the Mach effect. And but that's again a whole nother story. And so there's all these different scientists that have come out over the years. They used to actually run this STAFE conference, which was the original DARPA conferences where all the propulsion stuff would be discussed and all the papers would be presented and picked up by DARPA projects and stuff like that back in like the 80s and 90s. So I knew the guys that were doing this like when I was just a baby, you know what I mean? And I've talked to and interviewed all them, got all their best info and all their best intel. If someone figured out anti-gravity in 1954, like Stephen Greer came and sat in this chair and told you that we'd know about it, we'd have it. And his.
Well, don't you think that's what all the Tic Tac stuff is? You think that's like? Do you think? I think that's our stuff, our own anti-gravity stuff.
They
probably launch it out of submarines.
Is that true though? I don't have the evidence for that, or is that
of course nobody does? This is just a psyop
that they want us to believe? I wonder if that's just a psyop they want us to believe, because you look at right now you got Ross Coulthart saying that he swears the Tic Tac is a Lockheed Martin craft and that he's seen something that no one else has seen. And I know for a fact that Stephen Greer showed him something that was given to him by Michael Schratt, who's my one of my good friends. And
Michael Schratt?
Michael Schratt.
That name sounds so familiar.
Michael Schratt is a UFO archivist and a researcher. He's got a huge collection of UFO documents. He's caught every UFO library in the world. He has a full copy of their entire library. He has
Wow.
he has all the broad Project Blue Book files and plus more. This guy's got everything, and he's got every single Area 51 patch that was ever issued on like four. Like he's got like 5 boards full of all the patches. Man, this guy's got like the authentic, real patches that were given to people at Area 51 for every special project that ever happened out there, and he can tell you every single one and details about it, bro. The guy's great. I mean, he's one of my best friends and researchers in the UFO community around that issue, and I know for a fact that he's the one that dug up that 1960. It was a 1967. When was the Wycombe? It's Wycombe. It's like Wycombe with a B, Combe, Pennsylvania sighting. Because he's got a Tic Tac sighting from
really?
From 1967.
Oh, 67.
Bro. This thing was spotted
you don't think the Tic Tacs were our stuff?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
What's your best guess?
If it could have been, because aerogels go back 100 years, right? So you have super lightweight things. Then you have these surfaces, which are, you can get propulsion effects of ion propulsion off a surface with these propulsion effects. You could build a large aerostat craft with these propulsive surfaces on it that could, accelerate at ridiculous speeds because F equals ma. If you put your M really small, a tiny bit of force gives you a huge A, right? That's a huge acceleration. That's basic physics, right? So you can go really, really fast on a small amount of force if you weigh nothing, right? If you weigh as light as a feather, and these aerogels weigh lighter than a feather. They're lighter than water and stuff. Yeah. So this is talking about? Yeah, that's the one. It's the boiler ship UFO. It looks like a Tic Tac with the same kind of appendages hanging off of it, the same little antenna appendages.
In Wycombe, Pennsylvania,
which is just weird, right? Because
and this thing was described as flying.
Yeah, it flew right out of a lake and over a lake. I don't know if it came out of the water and took off. That's I think that's what I thought. I think it came out of the water and took off. So something interesting there. Again, I don't. It's hard to say what they have without definite proof, because they kept certain projects secret for a very long time, and then it's hard to say, man. It really is. But I feel like a lot of it, just from a standpoint of being involved in it and seeing so much overhype and under delivery, I feel like a lot of this stuff is psyops to make people think, it's like to make our enemies think we have a lot better stuff than we actually do. That's what I feel like some of it is, but then again, it's like, where's the proof? You need definite proof. Before I can say that we have the ability to teleport a plane, for example, I have to show that I can teleport a toothpick first, right? I have to show that experimentally that I can make a toothpick disappear and reappear over there, and then I can teleport it with technology. Yeah. Before I'll believe that you can do it with an airplane or a person or anything else, right? You have to show this physically. So there, again, we've had a lab, we've gotten tons of people working on this from all over the world. There's a massive team of like 30 or 40 people all working on different anti-gravity experiments around the clock, and we've been working on this for 5 years with private funding, and we haven't been able to crack this or figure it out. Like we've gotten the Biefeld-Brown effect to work in the vacuum video. Remember the bell jar with the in fact, when Jesse Michaels was on Joe Rogan, they were searching, the Biefeld-Brown in a vacuum, and that came up. That's our video.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Let's pull it up. How do we find it?
Look up Biefeld-Brown effect in a vacuum. And
you guys did this in your lab?
Mark did this down at his lab with a 15-inch bell jar down in New Jersey at the Falcon Space Lab in New Jersey. So, and we did this because Jesse Michaels had put together this video on Biefeld-Brown, and in Jesse,
his documentary on Biefeld-Brown was fucking amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And in the end, he said he offered a $50,000 prize to anyone who could show and demonstrate provably that this effect works in a vacuum, right? And so we said, yeah, we'll take that challenge.
And did you do it?
Well, here it is, man. I haven't seen that 50 grand.
I don't see what's happening here.
It's
moving.
It's on a torsional balance, so it's going to rotate when the force is applied. So this is a hard vacuum. This is -6 torr. Okay, it's hard vacuum.
Okay, explain. You got to break this down for a 5-year-old.
So if this is ion wind, so if Bifeldt Brown is purely ion wind, like Martin Tajmar of the ESA and all the official authorities on this say,
yeah.
right? If it's purely ion wind, then it shouldn't work in a vacuum, but it does. Why?
So you're saying that this thing in the middle is spinning, right, or is moving because of the Bifeldt Brown effect?
Those are little Bifeldt Brown effect thrusters in there.
Those little things?
Those little tiny things. Those are little Bifeldt Brown thrusters.
And how do they work?
Well, they were made specifically according to Dr. Charles Bueller's research, who worked for NASA for like 30 years on electrostatics, and he was an expert on the Bifeldt Brown effect. He did all the Bifeldt Brown research for NASA on this.
Okay.
And he came forward in 2023, at the end of 2023, on my podcast to, basically show the world that, hey, I've been working on all this stuff for 30 years, and they finally cleared me to be able to talk about it and tell you all about it. And was very adamant that this stuff actually is. It's new physics. There's new physics here.
Why is it going back and forth like that?
It's on a torsional balance, so it's
And why so slow?
Wow.
It's because it takes a very small amount. It's producing a very small amount of thrust, but it is producing some. But if it produces any amount of thrust in a vacuum, it means it's not pushing off air, right? And Nam Tran is the name of he's the person that built those thrusters. He's a physicist, an experimental researcher from our group. He lives in Vietnam.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is all new physics here, man. There's something weird going on, and Bifeldt Brown working in a vacuum, it shouldn't. There's no mainstream explanation for why this is happening or what's going on there, and Epstein, of course, would probably have been interested in this. I don't know what he was. I don't know how far he got or who else he was involved with the groups. I mean, we have a list of the names of the scientists that were going to the
Right.
island and stuff, and we have the fact that he's trying to infiltrate other groups and other theoretical groups and stuff. What the reasons are all behind those, I'm not sure. Eric Weinstein seems to think that he was specifically targeted because of his research that he was doing.
Yeah, Weinstein explained being invited to his house, right?
Yeah.
And going there and like waiting in the lobby and then being like really fucking creepy. And he explains that he think Epstein was like playing a character. He didn't think he was like a real finance guy. Like he wasn't a real investor. Right, he was like someone that was playing a character who obviously had a ton of money, but he got most of his money from Leslie Wexner.
Yeah, Les Wexner. Yeah, and the Bronfman family. I mean, I feel like too, because the whole Bronfman connection there. There's something there. Claire Bronfman was connected to that whole Nexium sex cult in Albany, New York. You know about that, right?
No, I know about Nexium, but I don't know who Claire is.
Claire Bronfman. Yeah, that's the Bronfman daughter, the heiress's daughter, man. She got caught up in all that, and that's like that's the Bronfman family, Bear Stearns. Those are the people that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, really interesting connections.
Well,
there,
I mean, Epstein's origin is fucking crazy because he got hired as a math teacher. Is that right? At the Dalton School.
Yeah, right. That's a teacher, right?
And then he got fired allegedly for. Was it misconduct, or I don't know what the official story was, but he got fired for that. And then one of the girls' dads who was at the Dalton School was the guy at Bear Stearns,
right?
Who then hired him, and he had no training in this stuff, no college degree or anything like this. Just brought him into Bear Stearns, and then before you know it, he's connected to all these big shots. Adnan Khashoggi. and
Yeah.
like this crazy world, and all of a sudden he's living like the richest motherfucking human on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Over
got
wealthy.
like unbelievable amount.
Unlimited
Like
amounts
his
of money.
lifestyle was insane.
It's just crazy that there is a group of people that are so wealthy, so well connected, and a private intelligence network that's able to operate and set up outside the CIA. After the CIA closed, the Safari Club with Adnan Khashoggi and all them basically created their own CIA to act in lieu of the CIA on these foreign issues, while the CIA was being, handcuffed by Carter. So the whole Iran-Contra network exists around Epstein and is part of his rise to power. That those are the people that put him in power. And then the Iran-Contra network is also the people, I believe, that are responsible for 9/11. I believe that the hijackers that were brought here that hijacked those planes, right? 13 of them were given their visas to enter this country in Saudi Arabia,
Right.
through John Brennan. John Brennan was the guy directly responsible.
How many of them were actual Saudis, though? A huge number, right?
Yeah, like 15 of the 19
Right.
were Saudis.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was also Saudi intelligence officers in California at one of those houses they were staying at,
Right. And
where
you got-
Mohammed Atta was, and a lot of those other guys.
when you look into the whole history of it, George Tenet, and who held the spot at Alex Station that was taken over by Brennan, when Brennan was basically put into the position at Alex Station after George Tenet left Alex Station to go become director of the CIA under Bush. Well, Brennan goes and takes his spot. His job is to give all the hijackers their visas and bring them to this country. And then he gets rewarded by becoming director of the CIA later. Very interesting connections there. And again, I've talked about a lot of these CIA directors, like John Deutsch, for example. Quit. He left the CIA after that press conference in L.A. where Mike Rupert, basically confronted him. Said, basically all the everyone in L.A. is like, is the CIA dealing drugs? And he said, if you have evidence of the CIA dealing drugs, you can bring it to the police department in LAPD. And the guy gets up. He's like, I was head of LAPD narcotics detective I was shot at for trying to and forced out of LAPD for trying to bring this up. So who do I go to? And he's like, you can bring that to the police department or the FBI. And he's like, no, all those people are corrupt. They're all involved in running this whole drug operation. What do we do? And the whole room erupts. You can go watch this video of John. Look up Mike Rupert confronts John Deutsch.
Oh my God.
And John Deutsch.
What year was this?
This was 1993 or 4. 1994, I believe. Yeah. And so John Deutsch quits as director of the CIA. He's like, I can't deal with this, man, because he's connected to this whole drug trafficking thing, which Ollie North took the whole fall for that whole thing, but really it was so much deeper than that. We should have had a church style committee hearings on that. We haven't had one of those types of hearings. Yeah.
How long is this? 5 minutes?
Yeah, this is nuts.
Police narcotics detective that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time. I'll refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity,
let him speak
and it's classified, will you use that classification to hide the criminal activity, or will you tell the American people the truth?
Everybody in the audience is black.
All right, you want to hear the response first from Congressman
Stephen,
Julian
can you turn it down just a little bit?
Director.
I want to see
Wait
this
a
guy's
minute.
response.
From your,
Oh,
I'm
fast
sorry,
forward a bit. She
sir.
talks a lot.
Places.
Oh no, go back. You missed it.
About
Here we go.
There we go.
if you have information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department,
Look at his smile, man.
Yeah.
Please.
if
I'm sorry. Others want to hear
Why is
this
everybody black in
answer.
here?
It's South Central LA.
Oh,
I
okay.
am sorry. Others want to hear this answer.
it is your choice, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Inspector General, or office of one of your Congress persons from this.
I'm surprised they didn't rush the desk and kill that guy. I really am. I really am shocked.
Oops, okay. Reduce random skill cooldown by 1 point. And then 35%. You don't have a bit of accuracy. Here's the real quick on this videos. Speed, if you run a 5%, if you also have nice little speed right there. You're getting 26 speed on the boot. Boot. Go on. His glove is the only thing I really don't like, but unfortunately, it's giving me all the crit where you need. Thermostats, put users. See, I should. It's feeling like I should just put this on here and try to pick up one. Let's do that. We're gonna make some changes because Ninja's more important to me than Thor's. I, I can fix that if I want to. So I just need to pick up one quickly. This is damage. Yeah, already. Damage. See, he's not accuracy. Accuracy. I'm just going through it and I'm making for it. Yeah. So it's not like the top. So it's Don't want to drop that. Okay. Yeah, he's dot. Much fun. This is a tough one. Down to do hard message. For just the point, this is not for always save this. Might put that before time runs out. All right. Okay. There's a nasty. Well, of course. Uh, big role you saw with those scores. So you just these more about. Go.
I want to see the other guy's response.
Sir, and sir, you have not gotten the mic.
If this information turns up wrongdoing, we will bring the people to justice and make them accountable.
Yeah, no, you won't. You'll actually prosecute the people who blow the whistle. Because the only people that went to jail for torture in the U.S. were the people that exposed it.
Yep. John Kiriakou.
Yeah, you just had him on, man.
Yeah. Also, Thomas Drake.
Thomas Drake, yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
NSA. His first day at NSA was 9/11.
No way.
His first day.
But so that whole thing, 9/11 could have been prevented if that thin thread software had been used and worked, right? So the NSA worked perfectly. They spent $3 million, a nice budget on the software that could identify and pinpoint all the terrorists, and it had specific protections built in so that they wouldn't scoop up any of the illegal spying on citizens and stuff, right? And they shot that down. They buried it and they replaced it with a $1 billion contract given to SAIC for essentially the same thing that basically took thin thread but just removed all the protections.
Trailblazer?
Yeah, the Trailblazer program, and that was run by SAIC. Okay, John Deutsch did a lot of he did mergers and acquisitions for SAIC. He worked for SAIC.
Really?
That guy in the video we just watched, John Deutsch, the CIA drug trafficking guy who quit over all those allegations and stuff. So he's deeply involved in a lot of other
people,
interesting stuff.
Can you explain for people who don't know about SAIC? What are they? And first of all, it stands for
Science Applications International Corporation.
The most bland, mundane name you could have for a company. It's like so boring. It's like you don't want to pay attention to it. So what do they do, and what have they been doing?
Well, they started in like '68, and there's really no information on what their original contracts are, or what they started with and doing or around it. But sometime, I know in the '90s, they were hired by the CIA to actually study the as a second. They were brought in as like a third party to study the work that Hal Puthoff was doing at what was it what was the Stanford
SRI?
Stanford Research Institute. Yes. I just want to make sure I got that right. Stanford Research Institute was doing all that research into remote viewing with the whole, and they brought in SAIC to basically confirm and try to re-verify their results, which I have a lot to say about that whole remote viewing stuff. I don't think it's real. I think I think it's bullshit. I think that Hal Puthoff's completely, was either completely duped by this group. I think there was another group involved with all that, right? Run by Puharich, and that was connected to Uri Geller and all that. And they brought Uri Geller in. A lot of people were convinced that he had real powers and real abilities and stuff, right? Well, it turns out that Puharich had invented a radio transceiver small enough that could be fit inside of a filling of a tooth. So you drill someone's tooth filling out, you put this little radio chip receiver in, and then you do the filling on top of it, and boom, they got a little radio chip in their tooth. And now it vibrates the messages so that if you clench your teeth together, you can actually hear messages from this radio transceiver through your tooth. And so you have now a covert way to send your subject the answers to the remote viewing questions without the interviewer knowing. Right? So you can fool these interviewers into thinking this person actually has remote viewing powers when really he's just being transmitted the answers through a radio transceiver in his tooth. So I believe that was one method that they used to fool a lot of the researchers at SRI into believing that these subjects actually had real remote viewing powers. The other one is that Hal Puthoff cites this plane crashed somewhere in this thing, and they needed to find it right away, and they didn't know where it was, and so they came to our group, and one of our remote viewers, like this Pat Price guy, was able to find the plane, with his magical powers and stuff.
Funny thing about all this remote viewing things, I don't mean to interrupt or ruin your train of thought, but a lot of them were Scientologists.
Right. Yes, and a lot of them were involved in like the occult and other stuff too. There's a lot of like weird Satanism stuff too, but the search of Scientology is definitely an interesting connection. But back to the whole issue. Hal Puthoff brought this up on Joe Rogan. He said, "Oh well, this guy found the plane," but there's other explanations for that, right? And here's my explanation: what I think could have happened. We have all these spy satellites set up by the recently created NRO and the NSA that are during that same time. Now we have data on this plane. Say we were tracking that plane and we knew exactly where it crashed.
What plane are you talking about?
The plane that Hal Puthoff says that they found with remote viewing, and that proves remote viewing is real and that it works. That's his only proof that he gives on Joe Rogan's show that remote viewing is real, is that plane that this one remote viewer found. That's like the biggest. That's this big ultimate proof that this has got to be real. Mm-hmm. And if you have a classified program and you were able to track that plane, you knew exactly where that plane was, and you need to go now get that plane, how do you do that? How do you find a way to we found the plane? Well, the remote viewing program's a perfect scapegoat, because you can just say, oh, one of our remote viewers found the plane and that's where it was. Oh my God, that's where the plane was. But in that way, you don't have to reveal your sources of your true intelligence of that you actually tracked the plane, you knew what it was and where it was, and
because of satellites.
Because of satellites, yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Well, couldn't you also put the shoe on the other foot and make the exact opposite argument, saying you don't want them to know about your remote viewing stuff? You want to hide the remote viewing technology because
the NRO program was $1 billion Canon spy satellites. We sent tons of these things up in the air. We have that capability, and that's something real that we wouldn't want people to know about. Whereas remote viewing there's no proof that ever exists. There's been tons of people that have
other
done studies
countries
on that.
Find out that we have those satellites in the atmosphere? Wouldn't they easily be able to detect those satellites?
Yeah, they might know we have some of these capabilities and stuff, but it's a way to get that information out that's classified. So there's not proof that plane was found with remote viewing. The CIA could have pulled a move, is all I'm saying. Is it all right? I don't know. You can do that with what you will, and people can believe what they want. But I've done my own studies into this remote viewing stuff, and I think it's all a bunch of hogwash. And I think
but isn't there a ton of other evidence that the remote viewing stuff is real?
Where?
there's been, I don't know where, like I don't know if there's hard like
name some.
like,
Show me.
I don't know how you could document.
I would love to see it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
man.
no, I've not seen it either. But I'm just saying.
If you have any, please show me, and I would love to test one of these people.
I'm just saying
myself.
testimonials from people who were a part of the program who have talked about it and corroborated stuff. Like you have, you have witnesses with corroboration. I'm not saying that you have like a fucking, hardcore evidence.
Yeah, they get a whole bunch of these people that say, "Oh yeah, it's real. I swear by it, and it's totally real." And it's okay. Prove it to me. All right.
Yeah, I would love to see proof too.
Again, it's one of those things where I'm a scientist and I'm a skeptic, and I think it's a whole bunch of nonsense to convince people that they can get inside your head and get inside everything. And
Steve, final ask Grok, has anybody ever proved remote viewing is real?
Yeah, I wonder what Grok has to say, because there was a whole bunch of studies that were done. Like I said, SRI did the studies, and then SAIC was brought in as like this separate group. So that we know that they were involved with the CIA through that, at least that one classified thing. So it's quite...
Oh yeah, we got off on a tangent.
But also, I know
go
that...
back to SAIC.
I know that Ed Fouché worked for SAIC at one point too. I know that that's in his history. But also SAIC... is apparently connected to a whole bunch of the UFO stuff. It's just tangentially.
Yeah, this is what Jesse Michaels talks about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the guy UAP Gerb, and he's done a ton of research into
Oh, he's great.
Both SAIC and Battelle.
Right.
So Battelle is the progress reports that show that they were working on the memory metals in 1949, with a specific interest in nickel titanium alloys, which is nitinol. There's like 5 pages with the phase diagrams for nickel titanium alloy. They were super interested in this for some reason, and I think it's because of the memory metals that were found at Roswell. A lot of other researchers do feel that way as well.
All right, here's our conclusion from Grok. Remote viewing has not been conclusively proven to be real in the sense of meeting rigorous scientific standards for a novel phenomenon. While some studies, particularly from the Stargate Project and recent meta-analysis, report statistically significant results, these are countered by methodological. There you go. Easy for you to say. Critiques, inconsistent replication, and the absence of theoretical explanation. The mainstream scientific community, of course, leans heavily towards skepticism, classifying remote viewing as pseudoscience, just like they do everything. Though proponents argue it warrants further investigation due to persistent statistical anomalies. The debate remains open, but the evidence is not sufficient to establish remote viewing as definitely a real phenomenon.
Right.
But here's the thing. We have proof that the CIA spent millions of dollars on Stargate. Why would they just waste millions of dollars if it wasn't at least somewhat effective? I'm not saying like guaranteed, but say they tried remote viewing 1,000 times and it happened 5 out of 1,000 times.
So there was a article that was published, I think it was in a French newspaper, and it was about a Russian remote viewing program. And that got us interested in the idea. And we said, "Oh, the Russians really doing this? Does this really work?" Well, we have to find out. We have to see,
Oh, okay.
So, they spend more than that trying to figure out a link between, I can't even think of one off the top of my head, but there's some ridiculous studies.
And this was all during the Cold War. Dude, the Cold War, some of the most fucking insane shit was going on in our government during the Cold War. You got JFK, Watergate, MK Ultra, the moon landing, Stargate. It was the Cold War was like the Twilight Zone of just weird and wacky shit going on. And a lot of them.
MK Ultra is really wild.
Yeah. The moon landing too is really fucking wild.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that with you on this podcast. That's just a whole nother rabbit hole. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough time.
I know.
I want to talk about a lot of other.
Yes, let's get back on track here.
The thing is, there's too many conspiracy theories out there, and I don't want more conspiracy theories. I don't like to deal in conspiracy theory. It's cool to speculate. I did a little bit of that today, right? Did
you see my part of the Rogan podcast where I showed him the picture of Jolly West on the set of 2001: Space Odyssey?
Yes, that was nuts, dude.
That's him, bro.
That's him.
We verified it. That's him with Arthur C. Clarke.
Yeah,
and Jolly West.
He's over there hanging around with all those guys. Yeah. And the connection to the MK Ultra connection to the Manson murders, and the murder of Sharon Tate, and then how
Jack Ruby.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was there with Jack Ruby.
Jack Ruby's really another hole, a rabbit hole, and anomaly. And
He conveniently lost his mind right after Jolly West left his prison cell.
yeah, yeah. It was his court-appointed psychiatrist. Well, that's the funny thing about our courts, man. They literally control the courts to such a degree where if you're involved in any of the stuff, look up. Have you ever heard of a guy named Richard Case Nagel before?
No.
All right, this guy was good friends with Dave Ferry, Guy Bannister, and Clay Shaw down in New Orleans.
No.
All right. A day or like a week, I think it was like a week before the assassination, he goes into a bank with a gun and like fires it into a couple shots into the ceiling, and then goes out and waits in his car to go get arrested. And when they arrest him, he says, "I'm doing this and getting myself arrested so that I'm not."
It's a really good book by a guy named Tom O'Neill, um, going over the Manson murders and uh, everything that surrounded that. Manson being involved with the Enter Ultra program and psychedelics and all that. It's an extremely good book. Um, Tom O'Neill did do an episode, and everybody had opinions about the guy. I don't care what the fuck opinion anybody has. I wanted to listen to the guy who was interviewing, but the Joe Rogan Experience, can't remember what episode number it was, but he had Tom O'Neill on going over his book. If you want a pretty good look at what the book has, you can just watch that episode. I think it's about 2 hours long, but it goes over how he started by writing just a little like news article on something surrounding the Manson murders, and then it divulged into him spending like 10 plus years working on this book, going over everything and how the Haight Ashbury clinic was set up by the CIA to like trap people, and it's all true, verified, real. Immediately after the book comes out, the Haight Ashbury clinic mysteriously just shuts down and everybody's gone. They were secretly running the LSD experiments and stuff out of the Haight Ashbury clinic, where they were literally taking um, ladies of the evening and having them lure Johns in, and they would do like pretty much secret experiments on people without their knowledge, and it's all verifiable facts. The fact that like Manson kept getting busted for this stuff, he'd get arrested in Mexico and magically he'd show up and he would just walk right out. Multiple arrests, people being told that it was above their pay grade to know what went on with him and why he was just walking out the door. Yeah, really good book. Anyways, back to it. This, by the way, vibraphone, I it it's the worst thing I've ever experienced. I hate the Viper. It's terrible. That's why I wasn't using Video's A3. I want her to open on the Viper with her A3. Petrification. For for the love of all things good. Why? Why did they put that in? If I was going for big damage, I would be manualing this and I would have Ramsu reset Mikage. Wow. Ninja just beat it 3 times in a row. 4. 5. case. What the hell? Wow. Wow.
Implicated in the murder of President Kennedy. And they buried this guy in under like legal stuff for like years. Like,
Is this online?
Yeah, it's all online. You can look this up. Richard K. Snagel. Look him up. Read about it.
Holy shit, bro.
They buried this. They buried this case. That they wouldn't let him present any of his evidence. To they like suppressed all his evidence in court so that it couldn't be entered into the record. They buried him in a prison cell for like years, and wouldn't let out the light of day. The same thing they did with the Secret Service agent in Chicago who blew the whistle on the Chicago plot to assassinate the president. Abraham Bolden is his name. He's the first black Secret Service agent ever. They arrested this guy on false charges, and they put him in prison and kept him in prison so that he couldn't blow the whistle on the assassination plot.
Well,
Yeah.
also Oswald tried to blow the whistle on it too.
Right. Well, the guy who called
Before it happened.
the Chicago FBI and said that there was going to be a plot there, he said his name was Lee.
Right, right, bro.
So there's some stuff going on with all that, and then of course Chicago is where Ruby came from. He had ties to the Chicago mob with like Al Capone and all this stuff. Really interesting, how the Dallas mob gets involved in all this and comes together.
Right.
And what kind of position they put Ruby in, that's always bothered me. It's like, what did they? This guy must have been at his ends wit or some. They must have had something on this guy to make him do that. Mm-hmm. But then also, after he shoots Oswald in the basement of the police department, he immediately drops the gun and says, "Where am I? What am I doing? Where am I?"
Ruby did?
Yeah, Ruby did.
Is that on video?
I don't think it's on video, but it's that's in the. I don't know if it's on video. That's a good question. But
How did you find out about it? Where did you read about it?
I read about it and learned about it. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it. There's a video of him shooting, and then like everything goes into chaos, So I don't know what happens after that. But people said that he dropped the gun and was like, "Where am I? What am I doing?"
So is the speculation that he was MK Ultra'd before that?
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about that Ruby was being MK Ultra, and he's living with Ruby was living in an apartment with another guy named another man named George Senator. Jack Ruby was gay. He never slept with any of the strippers. He's a homosexual. In fact, pretty much everyone involved in the JFK assassination is gay.
David Ferry was. For
David
sure.
Ferry, Clay Shaw, definitely gay. He was have parties with 17-year-old boys like shoving wine bottles up at their asses in his backyard. Clay Shaw did.
Really?
Yeah, there's literally this is in the history. He had parties at his house that he got the cops called on him because he had a bunch of 17-year-old black kids out in the backyard with shoving wine bottles up their asses.
Jesus Christ.
And the neighbors called the cops because they're all running around naked doing this. And so that Clay Shaw, then Oswald's landlady, Ruth Payne's lesbian. She had lesbian porn and literature all in her possession.
Yeah.
And she supposedly had an affair with Alan Dulles' girlfriend, right? So the director of the CIA, a direct connection between the director of the CIA and Oswald's landlady. She vacationed on Nashon Island in the summer before she picked up Oswald in New Orleans and drove Marina and gave them a home and a place in Dallas to stay. Mm-hmm. She was vacationing on Nashon Island, which is right near Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, up here, up where I live in Mass. Mm-hmm. And they literally... The Nashon Island is a private island. It's owned by the Forbes family. And very interesting stuff. Alan Dulles was supposedly was very definitely vacationing there. They've proven this, and they think that that's one of the locations where the whole JFK assassination was like. At least the financial ends of it were talked about. And
okay, here's Nagel.
Murchison house.
This is Nagel. Well, why did Nagel walk into an El Paso bank? According to what he told the CIA, it was because he wanted to be in custody when the assassination took place in Dallas.
Yep.
According to the January 18th, 1968 CIA memorandum marketed, quote, secret. That was released to the House Select Committee on Assassinations on August 23rd, 1978, during the Church Commission, right? The CIA memorandum says that Nagel alleged he wanted to be in jail at the time of assassination. However, Nagel says, at the time of my arrest, I was operating in an undercover role, having become involved in a domestic-inspired plot to assassinate President John F. Kennedy. Leastwise, ostensibly other highly placed government officials. Wow, that's insane. Have you heard of that lady Judith Vary Baker?
Yeah.
I had her on here.
Yeah, she's interesting.
She's interesting. She's very odd.
I've had people, there's a lot.
I didn't know what to make of it.
There's a lot of people I've heard over the years say like bad things about her. So, and there's other people that have said good things about her. I'd really like to interview her myself, but I really want to. I don't know. It's because a lot of people have different things to say about her, but then they say things about other people I don't agree with either.
Well, she claims she was having an affair with Oswald.
Right.
She brought in here the actual pay stubs from the place she was working, and she was signing off on Lee Harvey Oswald's what was it, like when he clocked into work in the morning or something like this?
Yeah, she's basically doing it for him.
She was doing it for him because he was gone, and they were having an affair together. So she was covering for him because he was showing up late or whatever. And she brought all these in, like the original ones with like the actual ink handwriting on.
Yeah,
and it lined up perfectly. She was working at that coffee company the same exact time that he was. So that's
definitely has a connection to him there. But I've heard other people say that I've heard other people say that she's like embellished. Or like basically like added stuff onto the story over the years that wasn't
entirely possible.
It's like she didn't come out right away at the beginning with all this stuff.
Right.
She's kind of like, and then so that makes her less credible to certain people. I've heard. So,
well, the whole story of Alton Oshner and the research that he was doing to create a bioweapon with that lady, Mary Sherman.
Yeah, Mary Sherman's
and
monkey.
How she was literally
the cancer viruses, this SV40 and all that crap.
This goes back to the SV40 stuff, and they were using that LINAC machine that was in the basement of the New Orleans hospital to turbocharge this SV40 to try to make it more deadly.
Yeah.
And they had a secret lab that was in an apartment in New Orleans where they had all these rats they were doing this testing on. David Ferry was there. Mary Sherman was there. Oswald was in there.
Yep.
And basically when they eventually found Mary Sherman, they found her in the apartment, basically stabbed to death. They had a bunch of knife wounds in her, and they like lit her apartment on fire.
Yeah.
But then when they came in and actually did the forensic investigation, she had all of these knife wounds, one in her heart, one in like her stomach, I think in her legs, and half of her entire arm and half of her body was missing, which wouldn't have happened in a typical fire. Like it doesn't completely dissolve your body. So they're saying what the speculation is, or what the point the book makes, is that when she was in the basement of that hospital doing the testing on that LINAC machine, it went off when she was still in there and basically like incinerated half of her body. So they had to figure out how to cover it up. So they put her in the apartment, and then they burned the apartment to try to cover the whole story up.
Wow.
And
that's interesting.
Oswald was connected to it, and they wanted Oswald to take this vial of SV40, this bioweapon that they had created, and they wanted him to go to Cuba to kill Castro.
Right.
And that's why he went to Mexico City and tried to defect to Cuba, or tried to defect back to the Soviet Union through Cuba. But it ended up not happening. It's a very convoluted story, but that whole story
and the beryllium dust stuff. And there's a number of like witnesses to the JFK assassination that died. Like they think that they basically cancered them. They killed them with cancer, like an induced cancer, rapidly induced cancer. Yeah, that's an interesting side of the whole thing. And David Ferry being interested in all that, he had like lab rats in his apartment and was doing a lot of weird experiments in his own and stuff. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Certainly with that Tulane University, I think it was
Tulane.
Yeah, really crazy rabbit hole there to dig down, but. Oswald, when he was in New Orleans, there doing that stuff, he was also working out of 554 Camp Street, which is an office next to Guy Bannister's office. And Guy Bannister was the FBI agent who created the X files, the file designation X for all the UFO stuff, and he investigated like the Maury Island incident, where he basically showed up to investigate this UFO incident, and there was this other group there of a guy saying that they were from the FBI and that they were there to investigate it, and he's like, well, who are you and why are you here? And they found out this guy wasn't really from the FBI; he was from another agency, and that guy's name was Fred Chrisman. And Fred Chrisman has been accused of being one of the tramps in Dealey Plaza, of course. You know, people also say that's E. Howard Hunt or a guy named Chauncey Holt, who Chauncey Holt came out in like 94 and laid out this whole story about how he was working for the Los Angeles Stamp and Stationery Company, which made all the badges for all the they made the Dallas Police Force badges, they made the Secret Service badges, they made the CIA, FBI badges, and all that stuff. And he said that his job there was to make fake Secret Service credentials for the people that were seen around the knoll that identified themselves as Secret Service agents, and he was sent there to Dealey Plaza to deliver those to the agents and stuff, so that and for the assassination plot. And he says he also made the fake IDs, the J. Alec Hiddell IDs for Oswald and stuff, and a lot of interesting stuff. And then so there's a lot of interesting stuff there in the JFK assassination.
You know who's an absolute mastermind in the whole history of this stuff is Danny Sheehan. Danny
Sheehan is I met him out at in LA a couple months ago.
He interviewed
he's directly involved with the guys.
He was directly involved with a lot of people. He interviewed Traficante about this.
Yeah.
And how that's all connected to the stuff at Watergate, because they caught the dudes that were in Watergate.
Yes.
Who had receipts to that bank in Mexico City, which was the same bank they used to pay the Cuban assassins that Danny says were the ones that trained to kill the president. And when Nixon was talking to Richard Helms, I believe, or somebody close to Nixon, his advisor was on the phone with Richard Helms.
Operation Mongoose, and then Operation Mongoose turned into Interpen.
The head of the FBI was trying to investigate that receipt and investigate that bank in Mexico City, and then the Nixon's advisor, somebody basically got in touch with him, got on the phone with the FBI guy and Richard Helms at the same time, and said, put the kibosh on this investigation, because if this comes out, if you guys peel back the skin on this, it's going to open up a hornet's nest of shit about JFK, so leave it alone.
Well, I guess what they told him is that it was the Russians, and that this could basically open up the whole open like nuclear war with Russia. Is basically, if you come up with this, you're going to start a nuclear war with Russia, and that's how they got Warren. Judge Earl Warren to go along with the whole, to basically go along with the cover up. Apparently, that's one theory about why he was told to go along with all this, is because he said if this stuff comes out about the Mexico City thing, it's going to link back to the Russian embassy and link to Russia, and then
I think Nixon was also really worried that it was going to try to connect him to the JFK assassination, because
he was in Dallas. Nixon. He was at the Bottlers Convention.
Right.
Yeah.
But Danny Sheehan doesn't believe that he had anything to do with it. He thinks it was all the Joint Chiefs of Staff that were literally trying to create a full-on nuclear war. They wanted to nuke China and Russia.
Yeah,
like all that stuff. That was the one point in time where we had the most and they had the least as far as nuclear weapons. Like that was our peak of stockpile, and that was when Russia had the fewest amount. So the Joint Chiefs of Staff had multiple meetings called PSYOP meetings, not PSYOP, SCIOP, and they were Robert Kennedy was in these meetings, and it was all about trying to basically nuke Russia and China. Kennedy wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. Neither did Robert Kennedy.
Yeah,
and he was trying to stop it, and at the same time he was trying to pull everybody out of Vietnam
and have talks with Khrushchev and all that.
Yeah, and that's this guy John. That's where this other guy John Newman, who is like one of the most world-renowned researchers on JFK. In fact, every book that's ever been written about JFK, all the top books, all the top authors. You can even talk to Oliver Stone.
Yeah,
they'll say all the #1 sold books on JFK